Alright you guys, so I may have misspoken earlier, may have given you some misinformation. I said I was not going to record this, but I figured it's a nice freezing cold fall day with a lot of rain. I'm off work, so we're gonna get this front tire off. I'm gonna go get it changed. I got the new inner tube. You guys seen I got the Shinko for the front. So this is a very easy thing to do. What you want to do while the bike is sitting on the ground, remove your caps if you have them, your axle nut covers. It was a 3/30 seconds Allen. Those come right off. Exposes your axle nut. So you want to break this axle nut free while the bike is on the ground. Gives you a little more leverage. On the other side of the forks, there are two axle tension bolts on there, so break those free as well before you lift it up too, just to avoid anything going forward, so you're not torquing on the bike while it's up on the lift. So we got that done. Now the next step we're going to do here is we are going to loosen this. Like I said, I already started, got that loose while it was on the ground. Make sure you keep your hardware on the same side that you are removing it from. So I'm going to come over to this side. I'll show you guys here what I'm talking about. So on the exhaust side of the bike, you have these nuts here, down here on the bottom. These just put tension on your actual axle, so we'll go ahead and get those broken free. So once those are broken free, it takes the tension off of this axle. You can hit it with a rubber mallet on the other side, it'll come out. Just make sure all your spacers, like these things, any washers, you keep them on the same side. So like I said, make sure any washers, any hardware that comes off, keep them on whichever side they come off of. That way it makes it a little bit easier when you're putting them all back together. So after that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to mess with these brakes here. That's a very simple thing here as well. So the tension is off of the actual axle itself. So then what we are going to do is we are going to get this axle out, and we should be able to, we might not have to mess with the brakes here, we'll see. What I like to do is prop this front tire up just a little bit to take some tension off once you're removing this axle. So I'll find something that I can slide under here just to kind of take some of the tension and weight off of that axle. And then your axle will come right out. I'm going to leave it over here on the right hand side of the bike because that's where it is going to go back. So now we'll slowly lower this down and all your parts should come out. It should be free from the brakes here. There's one of the spacers. We'll keep that on the left hand side or right hand side because that's where it belongs. I just want to be gentle with it. There's your other spacer. We'll put that on that side. And we're free. So now the front rim is completely free from the bike. So what we're going to do is we're going to jack this bike up a hair more. Once we get this bike jacked up, it'll have clearance. That front tire will come out right from underneath that fender. Make sure you support your local motorcycle shops. My local motorcycle shop is Youngstown Cycle Supply. They're going to mount and balance this front tire on here for me. The Harley dealership will charge me a lot more than that, and a lot of times the Harley dealership will not even install a tire on your bike unless you buy it through them. So that'll bring me into my next rant here, but before I get into that, let's get this thing up. Let's get this rim off. All right, so we're gonna have to loosen these calipers and hang them out of the way. Because I don't want any scratches on this paint, I'm just going to take these here. Just zip tie my calipers out of the way so that they're not bouncing off the paint of the bike. Alright, so now those are secured away from the paint of the bike. Jack this up just a hair more. Alright, so it's just that easy, you guys. Front rim is off the bike. I'm going to lower it down a little bit so that it's resting on one of the tension points here on the lift. And there you go, it's that simple. So the next step, of course, is bringing the bike to the shop, getting a new tire mounted and balanced on it. After we get this tire mounted and balanced and we get it back, you're just going to follow the same steps in reverse. You're going to put the wheel back on, make sure your spacers are where they're supposed to be, get your axle on. You're going to want to torque everything down to the specs in your service manual. Once you get that done, put your brake calipers back on, make sure everything's lined up, test your brakes before you ride the bike. If you need to, flush your brake lines, get all that stuff dialed in, make sure you got sufficient pressure up front on your front brake system. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was kind of just a rant that I had with the local Harley dealers around here. So as you guys know, I listed this bike up for sale, getting the new front tire on it. Gonna do a couple other things to it. It needs an exhaust bracket on the right-hand rear side, so we'll get that taken care of. This bike is gonna be listed up for sale. These bikes are selling for $13,000 to $14,000 all day online. The paint's probably about an 8 out of 10. It's got a couple scratches on it. It's a 09, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Aftermarket radio, speakers in the hard bags. So I looked it up. They're selling for about, what, like I said, around 13 grand. I got this bike up for 12 or best offer. Making sure this thing is ready to roll. Everything is good to go on it before we do sell it. But Local dealerships have contacted me, two of them that I reached out to. Man, they're offering me $6,000 for this bike so that they could put it on their lot and mark it up to 12 and double that profit. Now, I do understand they're a business. They're in this industry to make money 100%. We all are doing what we do for money. We don't work for free unless it's for friends. So they told me that they could offer me in between 5 and 10 grand for it, but it was all determined on me riding the bike into them. I know they're going to go for the low end. Had a couple other places offer me around 7 grand for the bike. The drivetrain is worth more than that. Any of you guys that know these motorcycles, this bike should sell for 11 grand all day long. I know it's winter right now in Ohio. We're getting close to it. We already had our first little snow up in Cleveland. So I'm going to wait till the spring. I'm going to put this bike back on the market for 12. Just a little frustrated. Even when I brought my 2020 Lowrider S to the dealership, I was talking to them about trading it in on one of the Lowrider STs. So this bike I got for $18,500 off the floor, plus tax and title. Put the new suspension on it, put the exhaust on it, handlebars, did a bunch of stuff to this bike, and they offered me $14,000 for a trade-in on it, and I just could not do that, especially with that Lowrider ST coming in at like 24 out the door. I didn't want to finance another 10 grand or drop 10 grand out of pocket just to get a bike that's 2 years newer. Let me know how you guys feel. Have you had any of these issues with the local dealerships? They won't even take a bike that's a trade-in unless it's a 2012 or newer. Just a little frustrated with them trying to gouge that deep, especially in the economic state that we're in right now and not being able to keep bikes on the showroom floor or even keep bikes in their inventory that they would be trying to lowball that much. But all right, you guys, I won't bore you anymore on that. Let me know down in the comments if you've had any issues with dealerships trying to lowball you. What do you think this bike is actually worth? We'll get this front tire to the shop. We'll get this front tire mounted and balanced. We'll get it back on. Once this front tire is mounted and balanced and back on this bike, we'll get you some more content on that because I'll probably be riding this. I like touring bikes when the weather gets colder because this fairing keeps all that cold wind off you. But all right, you guys, stay tuned for the next episode.